In 2008, who was in power? In 2008, who was in power? Who was in power? Which political party was in power? Which political party? The NPP. The NPP was in power in 2008. And the laws that govern electronic communication and the National Communication Authority, which define the obligations of license owners, were passed by the NPP. So I am surprised that today, the leader of the minority, an MPP leader of the minority, and a lawyer for that matter, will stand in this chamber and say that it is unconstitutional and a violation of the Constitution for laws to be passed governing the management of frequencies.
He doesn't like his implementation.
And yet, it was your party and your government in 2008 that enacted those legislation through this parliament.
Which are consistent with the Constitution.
So I think that when you urge others to be consistent, you must also be consistent yourself. So if you say Sam George has to be consistent, I also want you to also be consistent. Be consistent with the position of your party on the management of frequencies. Like I indicated earlier in the day, we have about 30 questions scheduled to be asked of ministers. And the ministers are all here, from the Ministry of Finance, Health, Youth Empowerment, Roads. They're all here to answer questions that we have asked. And so, Mr. Speaker, I won't spend that much time, except to just say that I have cited a correspondence, a letter written in 2022 and 2023, and I just think that it will be useful to close this matter by just reading those letters. Mr. Speaker, on the 22nd of February 2023, there was a letter addressed to the Managing Director, Ntim Multimedia Company Limited, Kumasi. Dear Sir, violation of conditions of authorization. We refer to the inspection conducted at the FM broadcasting premises of Ntim Multimedia Company Limited at Kokomlemle, Accra, in the Greater Accra region on 14th of June 2022. The inspection revealed the following lapses in the setup and operations of Ntim Multimedia Company Limited. 1. The station's transmission system was located at Accra Newtown instead of Ajangote, or within a 5-kilometer radius from Ajangote, as required by Condition 3 of your authorization dated 26 October 2021. This is causing interference to stations using neighboring frequencies. 2. There was no fire certificate from the Ghana National Fire Service. No fire certificate. 3. There was no permit from the Environmental Protection Agency approving the installation of the mast. Ntim Multimedia Company Limited is hereby directed to rectify the above anomalies within 90 days from the date of this letter, that is by 21st May 2023, and invite the National Communication Authority for a second inspection. Please be informed that the cost of the second inspection amounts to 2,000 Ghana cedis and shall be borne by the Ntim Multimedia Company. Please take note that the issuance of a test transmission authorization for Ntim Multimedia Company Limited to commence operating its FM broadcasting station in Accra is pending compliance with the above directives. Yours faithfully, signed, Director General Joe Anochi. That is the first one. I have a second one, signed also by the same Director General Joe Anochi to the same company, the Managing Director, Ntim Multimedia Company Limited, also on 21st December 2022, also titled Violation of Conditions of Authorization. Same conditions, transmission challenges, no fire certificate, no permit, repeated and signed again by the same Director General, Joe Anochi. Mr. Speaker, you see, when you take a license and the license stipulates conditions, please endeavor to comply with the conditions of the license. It is as simple as that. It is a national asset and the frequency has been allocated to you subject to payment of certain license fees. Please pay your license fees. I don't think any of us is interested in waking up in the morning, tuning into a radio to hear what is happening before you even step out of your house, only to be told that the radio station has been put off. So we don't want that. But please endeavor to comply with the conditions under which you have been licensed to operate. So that is all that I will say. And also to emphasize that I have looked at the laws under which the minister has issued the suspension directives. Mr. Speaker, there are two laws, basically, and regulations that govern. The National Communication Authority Act 2008. National Communication Authority Act 2008. And the Electronic Communication Act 2008. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask, in 2008, who was in power? In 2008, who was in power? Who was in power? Which political party was in power? Which political party? The NPP. The NPP. The NPP was in power in 2008. And the laws that govern electronic communication and the National Communication Authority, which define the obligations of license owners, were passed by the NPP. So I am surprised that today, the leader of the minority, an MPP leader of the minority, and a lawyer for that matter, will stand in this chamber and say that it is unconstitutional and a violation of the Constitution for laws to be passed governing the management of frequencies.
He doesn't like his implementation.
And yet, it was your party and your government in 2008 that enacted those legislation through this parliament.
Which are consistent with the Constitution.
So I think that when you urge others to be consistent, you must also be consistent yourself. So if you say Sam George has to be consistent, I also want you to also be consistent. Be consistent with the position of your party on the management of frequencies. And as for His Excellency the President, I'm surprised that you will say that he is being magnanimous because of public backlash. When did the suspensions take place? And when did that public backlash occur that I sitting here I haven't heard? When did that public backlash occur? The suspension occurred at what time of the day? At 10 a.m. this morning. And the clemency came at 12, within 2 hours. Who could have exercised such public backlash that His Excellency the President will be magnanimous to the extent that he is being? And lastly, Mr. Speaker, Yes, we are representatives of the people, but first and foremost, if we sit in this house and laws are being violated and ministers are taking steps to enforce those laws, and we stand in this house and attempt to condemn those ministers, then we might as well stop coming here. Because we are not here to make laws that should not be enforced. So when ministers are enforcing the laws, we should be the first to be commending them. I remember saying this about this same minister the last time he tried to enforce the law, and some members stood in this house and made statements that seemed to undermine efforts to enforce the law. This is the last thing that should be happening in this country, in this house, that we have enacted a law and a minister is enforcing the law, and we will stand in this chamber and try to take the minister on for enforcing the law. Please, let's stop it. Otherwise, there's no use being in this house. Mr. Speaker, on those very few words, I think that I commend the minister. We thank the president for his decision to direct the minister to suspend his actions. But the minister has given a timeline, and I think that all of us should be urging the media stations, the radio stations, the media houses to try and comply with the law. When it is genuinely difficult to comply with the law, I'm sure the minister will know. When you actually make an effort, the minister will know. And the minister will not arbitrarily just shut down or suspend a radio station when there is clear evidence that the radio station is making effort to comply with the law. So, Mr. Speaker, on that note, we thank the minister for coming to make such an important, urgent statement on a matter of government policy. And I think that we can continue with the next stage in the business of the House.
Yes, Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of cooperation, as we obliged our respected leader, I want to plead with you that since Majority Leader is done, if we can take the statement by Honorable Ayo. However, just a second. However, I've received communication through the table office, the pleasure of the chair. So I will yield to that.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. May I rise to ask the Minister for Defense the rationale behind the termination of all 15 Major Generals 2-star and equivalents and above in a command of the Ghana Armed Forces following the appointment of a Brigadier General 1-star as Acting Chief of Staff, Acting Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, respectfully, you may take the podium.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to appear before the August House of Parliament to respond to the question asked by the Honourable Member of Parliament of Asante South. Honourable John Ntim Fordjour seeks to understand the rationale behind the termination of all 15 Major Generals 2-star and equivalent and above in the command of the Ghana Armed Forces following the appointment of a Brigadier General 1-star as Acting Chief of Defense Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces. Mr. Speaker, within the constraints of confidentiality and secrecy that guide the Ministry of Defense, I proceed to specifically respond. Mr. Speaker, in answering this question regarding rationale, I'll draw on 3 themes: the purpose of the Ghana Armed Forces, precedence within the Ghana Armed Forces, and regulatory framework. Mr. Speaker, following my appointment as the Minister for Defense by the President of the Republic and Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we have striven to implement measures aimed at improving service efficiency of the Ghana Armed Forces. Touching on precedents, Mr. Speaker, in pursuing service efficiency, we relied on the time-tested precedents that has ensured the sustainability of the Fourth Republic. As an illustration, and let me emphasize that Major Generals are released at age 63 and Lieutenant Generals are released at age 65. In 2001, after a change of government, 6 Major Generals and 4 Lieutenant Generals were released from the Ghana Armed Forces with their ages running from 56 to 62. In 2005, there were 7 Major Generals. Mr. Speaker, in this instance, none of them were near their compulsory retiring age of 63 in the Ghana Armed Forces. All of them were released. All of them were released, unlike in our case, where some have been maintained and are serving in valued and enviable capacities presently. It is instructive to note that when all the 7 Major Generals were released in 2005, a Brigadier General was appointed as the Chief of the Defense Staff, 2005. Coincidentally, the Brigadier General and I belong to the same secondary school, Pope John Secondary School and Junior Seminary. In 2009, after another change of government, there were 6 Major Generals. Similarly, all of them were released, and a Brigadier General was appointed as the Chief of the Defense Staff. I'm skipping to the need, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Minister,
Speaker,
go ahead.
Let me be abundantly clear. Even though Reverend John Ntim Fordjour alludes to the termination of all 15 Major Generals, 2-star and equivalent, I must state that the Honorable Member of Parliament for Asin South got his question wrong. Respectfully, if the wrong question is not corrected, it can mislead the public since the cameras are here. Here are the facts. 8 Major Generals, 2-star, had reached the point to commence their terminal leave pending compulsory retirement. 8. 4 Major Generals, 2-star, aged between 60 and 62 years, are to be released prior to their mandatory retirement age of 63, in accordance with Ghana Armed Forces regulations and precedents. Mr. Speaker, let me add, out of the 8 who had reached their 63, Major General Afenyo Aite, who is among the 8, is being sponsored in the rank of Lieutenant General to compete for the high office of Military Advisor, Office of the Military Affairs of the Department of Peace Operations at the Assistant Secretary General level at the United Nations headquarters in New York, USA. Mr. Speaker, this means altogether 12 Major Generals, out of which 8 were due for their terminal leave prior to compulsory retirement, will be released from the service sometime in December 2025 and January 2026, save for Major General Afenyo Aite being appointed at the UN. Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of transparency and accountability, I wish to account for the whereabouts of the 3 Major Generals because the Honorable Member of Parliament mentioned 15. I have mentioned 8 who had gotten to the 63 compulsory retirement age, and also the other number that takes you to 12. What this means is that you must account for the 3 that makes the 15. And 1, Major General Robert Afram is serving currently as Deputy Force Commander, United Nations Mission in South Sudan, UNMISS. 2, Major General Anita Asma is also serving currently as Force Commander, United Nations Disengagement Observer Force, UNDOF. And 3, Air Vice Marshal Felix Asante has been appointed as the acting president, National Defense University in Ghana. Regarding the framework, Mr. Speaker, I respectfully submit that the Commander-in-Chief is mandated by Article 212 of the 1992 Constitution to appoint the Chief of the Defense Staff and Service Chiefs acting in consultation with the Council of State. I'm happy to report that His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama complied with the mandate. And as already posited, precedents in both 2005 and 2009 supports the appointment of a Brigadier General as the Chief of the Defense Staff. Mr. Speaker, let us bear in mind that the current Chief of the Defense Staff is in the same intake as the immediate past Chief of Air Staff, who is a 3-star general. And his immediate predecessor, Chief of Air Staff, who was a 2-star general. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, let me assure that this process to release the generals is rooted in the relevant regulatory and historical framework of the Ghana Armed Forces to promote service efficiency as we reset Ghana and work with patriotic zeal to continue to implement measures that will safeguard the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our dear nation, Ghana, secure our democracy, and ensure the protection of life and property. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ntim Fordjour.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the minister's own response.
Please, let's listen to him. Yes, Honorable Ntim Fordjour.
Given the minister's own response and reference to history, he has admitted and conceded that indeed this number of terminated generals is unprecedented. Now, the follow-up question is, couldn't the Commander-in-Chief have avoided the huge financial loss to the state in terms of gratuities to be paid, in terms of training invested into the terminated generals, many of whom have even up to 2 years to retirement?
Honorable members, why can't we be tolerant?
Hey, you are minister.
Couldn't the Commander-in-Chief have avoided the huge financial loss to the state, given the unprecedented number of discharged and terminated generals per his own records, 10 in 2001, 7 in 2005, and 6 in 2009. This number, per his own submission, is unprecedented. Couldn't the Commander-in-Chief have avoided huge financial loss to the state in terms of gratuity? Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament is inviting the Commander-in-Chief to insist that even when generals have attained the mandatory retirement age, they should still be kept. I have submitted here that out of the 12, 8 had reached that threshold. That is the reality on the ground. And this is why, Mr. Speaker, when I gave a similar briefing to the Committee on Defense, Interior and Security, I cautioned that let us be cautious about the kinds of things that we discuss in the public domain regarding defense, security, and interior. The fact is, all 15 generals, 2-star and above, have not been released from the Ghana Armed Forces, as your question alluded. 8 had reached the compulsory retirement age, and they've been processed for their terminal leaves pending release. Only 4 will fall in the category that you are mentioning. And I've also stated here and now that 3 of them, okay, 1 has been appointed by this administration as the acting president of the National Defense University. 2 are serving with the UN. This is what we refer to as ensuring service efficiency, which is a rationale. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Ntim Fordjour.
Mr. Speaker, the press release by the Ghana Armed Forces dated 30th April 2025 on resumption of general releases of soldiers in the Ghana Armed Forces defeats the assertion just made by the minister regarding the mandatory, and I read, and I quote, the Ghana Armed Forces wishes to formally announce to the general public that it will resume the release of soldiers. Oh, no, Mr. Speaker. The Chief of Staff, Mr. Speaker, the Chief of Staff, the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Bawumia Agyapong, hosted a gathering of all 2-star generals in the Ghana Armed Forces at his office in Bawumia Camp on Monday, 28 April 2025. And during the meeting, the CDS expressed its heartfelt appreciation and admiration for all the generals who have been terminated and released from the service, occasioned by the changes in command. He extended his gratitude from the President, the Commander-in-Chief, acknowledging their invaluable contribution to the Ghana Armed Forces.
Well.
Mr.
So
Speaker,
what's the question?
So it is not. They themselves in their press release indicated that they were not mandatory retirements. They were released ahead of their retirement. Mr. Speaker, given the fact that Ghana Armed Forces has been expanded to 4-star status, 4-star command status, and now, having had a 1-star general who had, within a period of less than 3 months, promoted to 3-star status from 1-star, still 1-star short of the 4-star that is required at the helm of command, what will it be? What will be the implication on morale and command structure? Thank you.
Minister, I hope you got the question. Minister, I hope you got the question. Very well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to assure that morale is very, very high because the Ghana Armed Forces has a pyramidal structure. And for systems that have pyramidal structures, if the top doesn't move laterally or vertically upwards, the down becomes what? Stagnant. So morale is very high. But because you went back to insist that all of them were retired when they were not supposed to, I want to once again reiterate that per the regulations, for such officers, for every year that they served, they will, for every 4 years, they will accrue 1 month as terminal leave. So when you are processing them for release, if the person served for 40 years, the person has 10 months of terminal leave. That's one. Two, you need to also appreciate that the facts will not change. That if you take Major General E.W. Kotia, okay, 64 years, it's supposed to be 63. Major General Ivan Aite, 63 years. I can go on and on and on. I deliberately elected not to mention names. So 8 had reached that age of 63, with some even exceeding the 63. Morale, let me repeat, is very, very high because when we are dealing with a pyramidal system, and it's a pyramidal system that presently has over 100 major generals. Sorry, brigadier generals, 1-star generals. And when you mention that the current CDS was appointed a CDS when he was a 1-star general, I have submitted here that precedents in 2005 and in 2009 will bear me out that a brigadier general was appointed by President Kufuor in 2005 and a brigadier general was appointed by President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory in 2009. And in the case of the current CDS, okay, 2 of his intake mates, one exited previously as a 2-star general. No, he didn't. One exited as a 2-star general, and the immediate past chief of air staff, who is also his mate, will also be exiting as a 3-star general. So, Mr. Speaker, morale is very, very high, and the error in the question must be corrected. That 8 out of the 12 had reached the age of 63 or beyond. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, I thought the question was 4-star general now being replaced by 3-star general. Is there any? If I got the question right?
No.
Yes.
There were several questions within his question about a 4-star general being replaced by a 1-star general. In the case of 2001, Lieutenant General Kafia was replaced. It doesn't matter who becomes, so long as the person satisfies the armed forces regulations. In any case, this is the first time. This is the first time that we have had a 4-star general in the Ghana Armed Forces. And so, for us,
Minister, hold on. Honorable members, please. A lot of people are watching us. People are even watching us beyond the borders of Ghana. So, as much as we can make things lightly. We don't. Minister is speaking, say, "Oh boy." I mean, who said that? It's, honorable members, please. This morning, Mr. Speaker admonished us, and I believe we all should take cue from this. It's not good. Yes, leader.
Minister. Mr. Speaker, I take a very serious view of this matter. This side of the House is always insisting on ministers coming here to answer their questions. Then when ministers come and they're answering questions, then we make such derogatory remarks. Mr. Speaker, this is most unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't forget that there is a report of the investigative committee that investigated the incident that occurred during the vetting of ministers. That report is before this House. And we are trying to manage the report. And in the face of such reports, then we will behave this way.
Honorable
Who's talking
member,
about blackmail?
please.
Who's talking about blackmail? Who's talking about blackmail? Who is talking? Do you know the recommendations of that committee? Do you know the recommendations of the committee? Is it because we are being lenient and not enforcing the rules? If you want us to start enforcing the rules, who enforce the rules? We will enforce the rules. We will enforce the rules. I will have every report taken in this chamber. Let me assure you that in this chamber, I have been through everything. Ask those who were here. Go and ask the former speaker, Michael Kwe. I have been through everything in this chamber. You know what I'm talking about. Please, when we are cautioning you, be careful. Because if we insist on unleashing the full rigors of the rules, you will find yourself wanting. You will find yourself wanting. Make this the last time. I insist, make this the last time.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.